REDARC goblock installation. That's right guys, as you can see from the thumbnail, we are going to be installing the 100 amp hour lithium REDARC goblock. And I tell you what, this could be the nicest thing that has ever come out of REDARC in a very long time. And here it is, the REDARC goblock 100 amp hour lithium battery. In my personal opinion, I've been waiting for this for so bloody long, and I finally got my hands on one. ARB and Dubbo told me that I was the very first person to actually get one, and I cannot wait to get into this thing. I haven't even opened it, so let's take a look and check it out together. You can even tell that the box itself is absolutely high quality, and I tell you what, it is awesome. Wait a sec. What the f is this? Okay, I don't know if this is a joke or what. Are you kidding me? But in all honesty, this is the REDARC goblock, and this is what I'm going to be installing in the Canopy right behind me. And I'm going to give you a high detail specs of what this actually comes with. You know, stuff like your 50 amp outlet, you've got 4 little USBs down there, but I'll get a close-up of all that gear in a sec. First of all, I'm going to tell you about the stuff that you need to actually hook this up the way that I'm doing it right now. Because one of the problems that I actually found is that I can't find an installation video on this thing anywhere. So, screw it, I'll do one myself. Everything works out in my head, and everything works out to be absolutely bang on. Now the first thing with any 12 volt system, you need to have wire. If you don't have a wire, you don't have. So what I've gone through, I've gone down to Autobarn, and I've got some 50 amp extension lead cable. And it's heavy duty stuff. It's basically made for this stuff. It already comes with 2 Anderson plugs, which is really nice. I've also gone down to JB Hi-Fi to go and grab 2 circuit breakers. This is so that if it ever cracks on or something's wrong, it'll just flick off and then you can just reset it by pushing it back up. Very, very good. Highly recommend to get these things because in the long run, they're cheaper than fuses, and you can also reset them wherever you are. You don't have to go and grab spares or anything like that. The next thing that I've got, I went down to Autobarn, and I'm not going to lie to you, I went a little bit overkill with Anderson plugs, just for the simple fact, I'm not going to be welding anything, I'm just going to be crimping everything, and Anderson plugs are one of the best connections for 12 volt in my personal opinion. So that's why I went overkill. I'm probably only going to be using about 3/4 of these, but these ones here are just going to be for backups, just in case if I don't crimp something properly, which I can guarantee will happen, but we'll have to figure that out when we get to it. And the next bit of wiring, I've got a Merit to cigarette socket adapter. I've got an Anderson plug which goes into 2 Anderson plugs. This is for the solar panel, and also an Anderson plug with ring connectors. This will be going from the car battery all the way to the back of the Canopy. I've got some ring connectors for the inverter, and also a little bit of heat shrink. And I've also got another cigarette socket adapter and also 2 USBs. This is just so that I don't have to go to the REDARC goblock. I can simply just plug it in, mount it somewhere closer to the wall, then you don't have to reach in and grab it. And yes, we can't forget the good old King's Pure Sine wave inverter. Very looking forward to see how this goes and seeing if it works. One of the other things that I also bought with that inverter is a 10 meter solar extension lead. That's just for the simple fact so that I'm going to have a solar panel on top of the Canopy, and I also want to be able to run a solar panel just on the ground, just to make sure that you get all of the sunlight you possibly can. I also bought a half decent set of crimpers, just for the simple fact these are the proper crimpers that you use for when you're mucking around with Anderson plugs, just so you make sure you get a good nice crimp on them. And I've already made a little box for the REDARC goblock to go in. As you guys know, I'm a bit of a fan with wood and that type of wood, so I'm keeping that whole design in with this, and it should look absolutely smick. And it goes in there nice and snug, and not only that, it looks good and it is light as. So let's go grab this battery box that I made up earlier today. and it is going to be going right beside the fridge. Now, the reason why I'm putting it right there is that it's center of mass. Even although that it's only 19 kilos is still a fair bit. It's like basically just a jerry can. And I thought, no, I want to keep that as center as possible. And it lines up perfectly with a water tank as well. So water tank there, battery there, fridge there. Nothing is too far close to the edge, just so that you get that center mass of gravity. And the reason that I'm going with an angle fridge, this is just a 40 litre and it's a dual zone, so it can be a freezer and also just a normal fridge. Simple reason why I've gone with this, I've got a lot of sentimental value for this because my dad bought this for me when I was 21 for my birthday, and I've had that ever since, and I'm 26 now and it's never missed a beat, so I've got no reason to go get another fridge. But I'm very, very excited to mount this here because I'm very, very excited to get some power into the Canopy. And once I've got some power in the Canopy, I reckon we're going to be able to go camping and it's going to be absolutely awesome. So I guess there's nothing to do now but grab some tools and get started. Righto, they came up pretty darn good, but now I'm actually getting to the hard part. I actually have to crimp all of these Anderson plugs, but they should be pretty nice actually. They should work in quite well. So my idea for the first bit is to wire up the inverter to the 120 amp fuse, put that into the 50 amp max voltage Anderson plug thing, and then I'm going to wire up the actual input for the car. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to run a line across here just for the solar as well, just because you do have to take one off, put one on, because you can't have both going into the same part. Unfortunately, that's something that REDARC can work on later, but should be sweet. So let's keep going. Well, I tell you what, I'm incredibly happy with how that turned out. What I'm going to be doing now is actually the fun part of the 12 volt system, which is hooking up all the accessories to the 12 volt system. So I've got a Makita dual battery charger. I've got two sets of lights for two sides of the Canopy. I've got the 12 volt oven, which will be working absolutely mint. I've got the shower cord as well for the little pump. And I've also got 380 watt solar panel to go right onto the top. So I think I'm going to do the solar panel first because that's going to take the longest time. Then I can chuck all the rest of the gear in, and then I'm going to be able to test absolutely everything. I've already tested the inverter and it works beautifully. So I'm really keen to see everything working at the same time, and then I can also chuck the fridge in there, get some cold ones in there, and it should be sweet. So let's go. Tell you what, that is a 12 volt and a half. I'm real happy with how this turned out, and I'll show you guys what I've done with that Makita charger as well. So I installed it just above where those ball valves are and the water pump, and all of that is all wired in now. And I tell you what, I came really close for that cable off the battery charger not being long enough, but with a stretch I just got it, so I was real happy. I didn't want to put it in that other side where the fridge is because I was struggling with space, but I'm real happy that I was able to get it in there, and it looks absolutely smick as. And it is nice and solid, not moving anywhere. I just used some 90 angle aluminium from Bunnings, and that's all good. So the only thing that we have to do now is actually install the lights, and then I'll be able to give them a test tonight and just make sure they work. So this is going to be a very tedious process, but we may as well get right into it and see how she goes. Righto, that is the 12 volt done in the Canopy. I'm actually really surprised that it's only taken me one day and one afternoon to complete everything in the entire Canopy. I thought it was going to take me about a week, and in all honesty I thought the whole shower system was going to take me a couple of days, but it was the opposite. But I guess it's easier to move wires than it is to move hard copper. Then I'm going to be showing you guys what it's like to go out camping with the whole setup. And later on I'm also going to be showing you guys how to run your wire to charge the REDARC lithium goblock to go to the front battery in the engine bay to charge it with its 50 amp charger. I thought I'd show you guys what the setup looks like while we're actually camping, and I'll show you what I'm using the inverter for and the whole 12 volt setup, and I'll show you how it's actually going. So at the moment I've got the fridge all nice and cold, heaps of food in there, heaps of chicken, butter, stuff like that. It's actually awesome having a 1500 watt inverter because I've been charging the batteries on the other side, but I'm also adding something else to the kitchen, a milk frother. Now the best part about this is that you can actually use this as a kettle because it goes over 70 degrees and boils it for you, but you can also use it for a coffee in the morning. Just put a sachet in there and then you're good to go. And the best part about this is that I've actually got some really nice red label shandy. I don't even know what that is, but yeah, it's real fancy stuff. I don't know why, but Jesus Christ, it's good. Let's go see if one of my mates wants some. You want a can, boys? So this one's for me for sure. I'll drink this one for you, should be alright.
You go for it.
Righto, that worked out bloody well. Now the other thing I was going to show you guys is the actual pump. It's really good having pressurized water, so now I can just do this. Got me a little hose. It is stupidly nice and it is stupidly handy. Now, the last thing that I've been using to actually use for the inverter, which I personally think is a bit flash, we've got a queen size blow up bed. And in all honesty, if that doesn't give me a good night's sleeping out camping, I don't know what will. But we'll wait till night so I can show you guys all this night stuff and all the lights and stuff like that, and it should be sweet. But until then, I'm planning on cracking one open. I'll see you in a bit.
No, you have to sit down. You have to sit down.
Righto, it's been a little bit of time since I went camping, and now that I'm back at home, I'm actually going to be getting into the last part of this 12 volt setup, which is hooking it up to the main battery in the car, running it all the way from the main battery all the way through the cab, all the way through to the back seat, and I'm just going to be mounting it on the back of the actual cab just there. But for the start of it, I actually bought one of these adapters just with some ring connectors from Autobarn. You can actually buy these as a whole piece, so it saves crimping it yourself. That's just going to be going on there, hook up to the battery, and then run through that hole all the way to the back. This part is pretty simple, so I'm not going to record too much of it. And then once that's all hooked up, next week I'm going to be putting the canopy back on the actual ute, and then I'm going to be able to just cut a small piece just so that I've got 2 connectors going in through there. And then, yeah, should be pretty sweet. Rightio, that literally took 2 minutes, because all I did was hook that up, run it through there, run it right beside the pedal, run it down there, across, and then all I did was basically just screw it onto the back of the cab. I don't really like how people screw them onto the tray. I think screwing it onto the actual cab itself is much cleaner. And not only that, it is sturdy as. So that's going to be the power for the back of the actual canopy there. And as you can see how I've set it up, it's got car and solar. The solar comes from the top, but it's also connected to this one. So if I want to put like another solar panel out in the sun somewhere, I can just hook that straight up, and then that's all good to go. And next week I'll just cut in a small piece there, just connect from that to the actual car itself. But this is where I'm going to be using this the most, and I'm also going to be using it for something else. So if this doesn't look familiar for you, this is my air compressor, and it is a Thumper Max dual cylinder air compressor. This is one of the really old OG ones, and to be quite frank, I use this all the bloody time. But I don't like how you have to actually lift up the bonnet to put these alligator clamps on, and in all honesty these clamps are looking pretty old. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting another Anderson plug on the end of these, so that when I do want to pump up my tyres, I literally just have to plug them into that, take that plug off for the canopy, even if it's on or off, and then it's right there. You don't have to actually take the bonnet up, because mine actually has latches to keep the old girl on, and I think that'd be way easier and I get a lot more use out of it that way. So let's just quickly chuck this on, and then I'll show you a couple of small things I've done to the canopy, because I found some little things I wanted to change while I was camping. And that's what you have to do when you camp. If you buy a $100,000 car, put 30-40 grand towards it, you're still going to change stuff. It sounds stupid, I know, but you want to change little things like lighting, stuff like that, shelving. It's never finished, so you have to go out there and test it for yourself. But let's chuck this plug on, test the air compressor, then I'll show you what I've done to the canopy, and then next week I'll show you guys how many amps it actually puts in to the REDARC goblock. Depending on how good my alternator goes, we'll have to see. So let's go. Well, that literally took 2 seconds. Real easy. Just make sure that you know what your negative and positive is, and do not get them crossed over, otherwise you will see fireworks. And not only that, it is so much easier to actually just plug in and turn on. And once you're done, you literally just take it off. It almost feels too easy. But anyway, let's go take a look at the stuff that I changed in the canopy, and I'll also show you some lights. So for the lights, all I've got is just some double-sided Velcro tape, and these are dimmable lights, and they're more mood lighting lights, because what you can do, you can swap them over for colours like purple, orange, red, green, party, and I tell you what, they are pretty darn good. Now originally for this one here, I did have a light come up here, but then I took it off and I actually put it in the chainsaw area, so at night you can see all of your oils, your gloves, and this is the chainsaw that I had on earlier. And also I've got a vacuum cleaner, and if you can see in there as well, I've got a fan, a Makita fan, so that when it gets stinking hot, you can actually put that into the tent, swag, or whatever you're sleeping in, then you're good to go. And on the front face here, I've also got my 2 drills. I've got a ratchet drill, and usually I put my normal drill in here, but it's in the work heat at the moment. And it's real handy because I've got a light back in there so that you can still see all of your knobs for your hot water, your instantaneous shower unit. So this side here is pretty much full, and when I go away, I literally just fill that area up there with spare parts, tools, stuff like that. Really, really handy. Now, if we'll go and take another look at this side here, because there's only one thing that I changed on this side, and that is I literally just installed like a little bungee cord to keep this fridge open, so that when I'm not using it, it can just stay open when it's turned off. And the other thing is, one thing that I noticed is that when I was using these ball valves, when you'd take a hose off, it would drip down here and it would splash everywhere, and that was quite annoying. So what I literally did was just simply run them down, and I'm going to be making up a little bit of a hose with a connector down there, so that when it drips, it just drips on the ground. It doesn't drip inside the actual canopy, because that was very annoying. There was just always a little puddle there. I've got the exact same lights for this one. So once you turn them on, there's a light down there, light there, 3 lights across the top, and a sneaky one just under there, just so you can see this light here. And that's the exact same sort of thing. You can actually just change them over from red, you know, party, red, green, blue, even purple. Cyan's a nice one actually, but I usually just use orange or red whenever there's bugs about. And for this one here, this is the main light that actually goes all the way across here. Best part about this switch is you can actually dim it as well. All you gotta do is take it off there, and then you can also brighten it back up, which is bloody handy as. So we may as well fast forward to next week when the canopy is actually on the ute. Well, that was a bit of a time cut. Now I've got a beard, but let's just work with that. At the moment, I'm actually charging some Makita batteries with the lithium goblock to try and drain the battery, so I can show you guys how much charge you can get with it with an old Hilux. But unfortunately, it was hooked up to the solar panel, and it's 390 or 380 watts. And it charges it in literally no time. So as you can see, they're flat, but they're charging at the moment. And in all honesty, it's going really well. There's a good old King's 1500 watt inverter doing its job. Now, one thing that I do really like about the goblock is that you can actually have an app to help monitor what's going on inside the system. You go to the REDARC app, click on it, it'll say connecting to device, and then as you can see, it's pulling about 18.6, 12. I'm pretty sure that's because it's only charging one battery at the time. When it's charging 2 batteries simultaneously, it can go all the way up to 36, 38 amps per hour. Which in all honesty is awesome, because right at the top it gives you a percentage of how much your battery has and how many hours you can actually run it for while it's pulling that amount of amps. Which in all honesty is super handy, because you don't want to be not seeing what you're doing, because you're going to have a fridge, you might charge some batteries, you might have the little 12-volt oven going on, you'll have the big lights and all that sort of jazz. You might even have the pump going, having a darn shower, and before you know it, you could be pulling like 50 amps. That would probably take 2 hours, 3 hours to go down all the way down to 0. So you want to definitely be able to monitor this, and it's doing a really good job, because I can see exactly what's going in and what's coming out. Now I'm just going to turn these off, and now that it's got about 89–90%, I'm going to turn the car on, and we're going to be able to see how much power is coming from the car, and you guys are going to see an actual live stream of it from the actual car to what it looks like now. Let's just go ahead and turn him on. So the car's on now, and at the moment it does take a second or two to actually build up. So yeah, it's rising. It's going to about 10, 11, 12. In all honesty, it is pretty cool to see exactly what's going on inside the goblock in real time, because you don't want to have to look at a graph or anything and try and figure it out yourself. And one thing that I've noticed is that it always sits around about that 16–15 amps, which in all honesty is pretty good. And you can see right at the top, it's going to take an hour, if that, to be 100% charged. So it's great that it gives you that time frame so you can know exactly what you can run, or if you have to save the power if it's not sunny and if you're staying still and you're not cruising around charging up those batteries. Now with charging this system with the solar panel, one thing that I've noticed, it gets around about 10 to 15 amps depending on if you're directly under the sun, and it also depends if the solar panel's dirty. With having such a large solar panel, it makes a massive difference if it's clean or if it's dirty. I've done some testing before and it's like 4 amps difference. It's pretty bloody big. Sometimes there was even 6 or 7 when it was really dirty. But that was a piece of piss. All you had to do was literally just grab some wet rag and just give it a good wipe over. Gets all the dust off and looks brand new. But in all honesty, I'm really happy that I've actually done this, and I'm even more proud of myself that I did this by myself, because I've never done anything like this. I remember once in my old setup, which was literally a dog box, I hooked up a solar panel and literally just twisted the wires together, and they were always coming off. I didn't even crimp them. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. So to go from that to all of this is pretty darn impressive. So one thing that I would recommend, if you want to have an idiot-proof system that literally is not going to fail no matter where you go, get yourself a goblock, because this thing is so easy to hook up. You don't have to pay anyone to do it. Everything's already in the whole entire system. All you have to do is literally plug it in, put some Anderson plugs on, and you're literally good to go. Like, I couldn't recommend this more enough. Now that's the pro part about the REDARC goblock. There is one downfall, I will admit, with having this system for around about 3-4 months now. When you've got this, you can't extend onto it. It basically means if I really want to amp this up, I can't just add a second 100 amp lithium battery. That's it. That's as far as you'll possibly go. And by the way, just to remind you guys, this will only run a 700 watt inverter. The only reason I've gone for a 1500 watt King's inverter, it was just cheap as chips. And in all honesty, like if I was going to buy a REDARC inverter, yes, it'd be a little bit smaller, it'd be exactly what I'd be able to get out of the goblock, but it's like literally 5 or 4 times the price. I just was not going to do that. But in all honesty, would I recommend the REDARC goblock? 110%. It is a great little unit, and not only that, it's lightweight, it's very durable, it's splash proof, which in all honesty, I wouldn't want to test it. I'd always keep it in the Canopy, unless if it was worst case scenario, you took it out on the boat, because that's also another advantage. You can take your fridge out, you can take this out, unplug everything, take the straps off, and you're good to go. And then that's also another bonus of it, the versatility. You can literally take it anywhere. Like if you own a boat, you're crazy if you don't want to look into getting one of these. They're really good. But in all honesty, if you guys have any opinions of the REDARC goblock, make sure you comment and like and subscribe on this video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode, which is going to be a big one. See ya.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust, and I always be around when I need some loving, baby.
You can't add anything to this. Once this is cut, nothing's too cut. Righto, that's the 12 volt done in the Canopy. Cut. The fuck are you doing? Block. It's supposed to be 50 amps, but depending on how good my alternator goes, cut.